Hello and welcome to the SCOUTCAST. My name is Joe.
My name is Seb.
My name is Karam.
Welcome everyone. Game week 18 is almost over, so to timestamp the SCOUTCAST, we are recording as Arsenal are taking on Crystal Palace. So a lot of free hitters will have Arsenal assets, no doubt. So myself included, and so I'll be keeping an eye on events going on. All of us though will be checking in on Arsenal, but we'll all have an eye on game week 19, and that's what we're here about. Double game week 19 is upon us. We've had blank game week 18 almost ending, double game week 19. Seb, what's coming up on the shows? They're dominated by that, I presume. Double game week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fixtures have changed again for game week 19. I mean, it's probably not going to be the last time, is it? Some teams no longer have a double, some teams now do, and some face different sides. So obviously we're going to have a look at that. We're going to assess that double game week and see what our plans are and see how it's panning out in light of the latest scheduling developments. I believe we're all relatively similar on that, are we? We're not bench boosting here.
No, none of us are. But we do have good advice for those that are considering it. What we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to have a quick look at our team so far. As I said, we've got one match left in the game week. So here's me so far. This is my free hit side. I've got 41. I was going to look forward to seeing super Scottish Bionic man Kieran Tierney, but apparently he's a bit tired. So I can't watch him. So I've got Kieran Clark coming off my bench. So apparently I seem to, according to Twitter, I'm the only person in the universe who's free hitted with a Newcastle defender as my first sub. I thought that was a good idea. Nevertheless, I should have picked Blimmin Ampadu or someone like that from Sheffield United. But I've got Lacazette and Saka to go. I'm around 20 points up on my non-free hit side already. So whatever I get, it's been a success. And that's being generous to my old team. I mean, as people were listening and watching last week, my pre-free hits team was rubbish for this game week. I'll add anyone. So if I'd have got KDB in for my free transfer, if I'd have captained Kane, I probably wouldn't have done those things. I probably would have captained KDB. I would have got significantly less. So hopefully I'll get some more. I'm finally in the top 1 million and I've got a 200k rank rise. So I'm hoping I can maintain that and just sort of stay in the top million and keep moving up. It's quite a nice threshold to get past. Okay, let's have a look at Seb's team. So Seb, you haven't free hitted.
No, I have not.
No.
I spent some points instead.
So you sent some points. So I'm just going to go through your team. Apologies to the podcast viewers and listeners. I didn't go through my team. So I'm just going to quickly run through my team and then we'll just run through Seb's. So on my free hit, I had Lloris, Cancelo and Stones, Tierney, or rather not Tierney, Son, De Bruyne captain, Fernandes, Saka, Lacazette, Wilson and Kane, with Clark as my first sub. Yeah, so Seb's team, 41 points, -8 though, but he's gone for Sanchez, Stones, Cancelo, Dyer and Kilman, who didn't play, I don't think, and De Bruyne captain, Fernandes, Son, Saka to go, Kane 8 points, nice, and then Watkins who obviously didn't play, and nothing on the bench at all. So you must be actually, I mean, it's only 10 points or so behind me, and I free hitted, so you probably got a feeling you got away with it?
Got away with it. Yeah, that's probably the right feeling. As we spoke last time, I probably could have gone in 3 different directions. I ended up going with this one simply because I couldn't get a wild card that worked for me. One that maybe gave me enough players this week and next week. It definitely wouldn't have allowed me to bench boost. And that's what I really want. I want to compound the wild card with a bench boost in the future. I spent 8 points and brought in 14 for that, I believe, if my maths are correct. Kilman played, but we thought he would. 1 point would have been a bonus. He was in the team. I wasn't going to lose him. And I think I'm okay going forward as well. Those transfers are meant to set me up for future weeks. I think we'll talk about that in a bit. But I am going to take some more hits. So it won't just be the 8. The decision of not wildcarding or free hitting will probably cost me, say, 12, maybe even 16 points. But you said what? You've made 20 points so far out of it?
I've made 20 and whatever Lacazette and Saka can get me. Yeah.
Lovely. So if that's somewhere between 20 and 30, I reckon I can make up a similar amount in the future and come out net up. So I'm feeling good about it.
Definitely. I mean, I'm at a point now with my team was exceptionally poor for this game week 18. And as we discussed last week, yourself and Karam were in a sort of could free hit, might not, take some hits, and you're in a sort of maybe not, whereas I had to. Moving on to Karam's team, pretty similar really. It says 27 on the screen, so I'll just run through your team and then we can reveal why it's not really 27. So you've got Meslier in goal, holding Wan-Bissaka, Kufau, Lewis, Diaz, Souček, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Bamford and Adams. So
why didn't they play?
They didn't play because they didn't have a match, which you cunningly knew because your bench features Jesus, Son, and Rashford, who are quite a tidy bench. So obviously they're coming in, and I think you've got 32 with whatever you can get from Rob Holding. So once again, that's still only. I mean, I'm about 20 points up. With the hits you've taken, do you feel you're up? You've sort of dodged a bullet with this game week?
Yeah, perhaps, unless something magical happens in Arsenal game. But I think that Kane was the only one who did that damage to me. As I anticipated, that the premiums that I've got and the coverage that I've got from different defenses did the business. No Newcastle clean sheet, no Wolves clean sheet, so that helped a lot. Even Spurs was expected to keep a clean sheet, they didn't. But I must admit that it could have been really, really, really better if KDB was not tired and gave away the penalty to Sterling. But that's another topic outside of the SCOUTCAST. But yeah, I mean, in general, I made the choice to go for a hit, and as I emphasized last time, I would have take hits on players who have a single game week fixture and a double game week, which mainly were Man United, City, and Burnley. I didn't fancy anyone from Burnley, so I opted for Wan-Bissaka and Jesus, which looks a bit stupid now, looking back at what happened to this game. But if Aguero remains quarantined for another 5-6 days, then he will miss out the whole double game week, and that surely means that Jesus should play. Who knows?
Well, they looked better. Man City, they looked quite good, and then they didn't, and then Brighton suddenly looked better, and then they altered it a bit more, and Jesus coming in. Because he was on the left, and then when they moved him to more century, Man City was
confused.
Man City
didn't know where to draw.
Looked better. It was Brighton. We confused them with our good XG stats, but awful track record.
Exactly.
I think Jesus was a reasonable shout, and I mean, hey, maybe you could have gone for Sterling. That penalty miss, I saw it on Twitter first as Sterling misses the penalty.
It was so bad.
I have Sanchez in goal. I was like, points.
There we go.
No points.
No, we rocketed it over. A lot of. These are fair chat. Jesus, Sterling. These are expensive players, but they could have done well. Sterling, if he'd have hit the target from the penalty spot, which is very, very capable.
He shouldn't even take it. To be honest, he shouldn't have taken it. He's so bad at penalties. We know that, and
he stole our captaincy.
The thing is, it was not like the last kick of the game. There were 2 minutes after that, and Brighton got a set piece, and they could have equalized, and it could have been mad across the fan base. But we got away with it. But
and we do think KDB is on pens going forward, right? Maybe this happens again for reasons, but he is the penalty taker.
Yeah. Pep said Kevin is the taker with that, so he emphasizes that he is the taker, but he was so tired. I don't get that. But it means that it has to go back to KDB. People will start to worry about is he off penalties? No, not after that horrible mess.
To be honest, if he was off penalties, I know open play goals, blah blah blah, but he missed 2 big chances again last night. 2 big
chances, yeah.
It's I dare I say it's coming. That's a famous last words, but he's closer than someone who isn't missing those big chances, and he's a very good player.
I tell you what he needs. He needs a lovely rest. He needs to put his feet up on the same island that Kieran Tierney has gone, getting tanned if that's possible for that Scottish complexion.
He can do that. He can do that in May. No resting next week.
Certainly not in the 19.
If I'm gonna think about giving him the triple captain, which I might, I'm not having him have a rest.
Okay.
But the thing is, it might not be that good in false 9 because he's been like scoring from screamers or doing his job, assisting people, having to be one-on-ones. He missed like 3-4 in the last couple of game weeks, which is not great.
Yeah, I want him outside, just outside the box shooting.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I maintain that the best position, both for him and City, assuming everyone's fit, is the right-hand side of a midfield three, where he just gets into that channel and there is not a better presenter of opportunities than De Bruyne. Exactly.
Yeah, take the early cross and
where he was all of last season. And he'll still get into the box for chances, he'll still hit them from range, but just every time, you watch them every week, Karam, every time he gets into that channel, someone's got to tap in if they get there.
Well, one of the dilemmas I have is to go KDB or KDB less for game week 19, and that's one of a number of issues that the community have been asking us questions on. So what I'm going to do first is just talk about the latest developments, and then what we're going to do is we'll reveal our teams and our thoughts, and then bring in community questions and issues, as we go, and hopefully we've got everyone covered. Hopefully, so I've got a picture of Jack Grealish up on the screen. Why? Because Aston Villa are a little bit central to the latest developments. So what we're looking at, Leeds and Southampton game is off. Okay, so Leeds and Southampton do not have a double game week. We all thought they would, but they don't, because Southampton will take on Shrewsbury in the Cup. So Leeds obviously don't have a double because they were due to play them, but they do have a single great tie against Brighton. Although Brighton for periods looked better than Man City. Make of that what you will. It was also a very depleted squad, and it looks like they're going to be depleted again. But Brighton are looking quite good when they're depleted sometimes. Still lost 1-0 though, and we all know Leeds are very, very attacking. Southampton take on Leicester. Not a great fixture. Don't have a double, but nevertheless they have a fixture, and they're quite hard to call in some of these matches. They obviously got hammered last season by Leicester. We don't know how it's going to pan out this time. I don't think they're going to make the same mistakes again. In fact, they pretty much, in the match afterwards, never made those mistakes again, or tried not to. Meanwhile, the Everton and Villa game off, and this is why we got Jack Grealish up here. So the Everton and Villa game is off. So there is a blank for Everton. If you have Everton players, they're not playing. But Villa still magically have a double. So they play City, who they were going to, and then Newcastle. So the Magpies game has now been shoehorned in. Newcastle have a double, and so do Villa. So what we do is we're going to tackle some questions around the double game. We can run through our teams as we do. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to put Seb's team up.
Joe, I've just seen the picture of Grealish you put up.
Yeah.
I transferred him out. That's not the face I need to see.
No, a big, smiley, mop-haired, massive calves. I haven't got his calves in the picture.
He's laughing at us.
He's laughing.
Coming at you.
He's laughing at us, looking at his calves.
Unacceptable.
And he's just going, yeah. Behold the mighty calves. So Seb, I'm going to put your mighty team up. You've got Sanchez taking on Leeds. You've got Stones, Cancelo, Robertson. All have got a double. Soucek, De Bruyne captaincy double. Fernandes double. Son single game week player. Watkins a double. Bamford single. Kane single. So you've got some good single game week players there. Some great double game week players. And then on your bench you've got Steer, the non-playing Steer. Saka, not a bad first sub. Dyer, not a bad second sub, and then obviously Kilman bringing up the rear on that bench there. So now we had some questions about bench boosting, and that was possibly what you were planning or thinking about, or other people certainly were. So yeah, what questions have we had around that?
We've got a question from FPL Wilson. Is bench boosting with single Leeds and Saints assets still worth it now they don't have a double? From Matt Francis, we have, when is the next double game week? And would it be best to save chips for then and just get through double game week 19 with transfers? And from Flinny, what to do with Villa? Only one good fixture, and we don't know how badly they've been impacted by COVID, which is a fair point. Although I would just quickly argue their fixture is probably better than it was when we maybe were planning to have it beforehand, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Seb. I mean, what do you think for those that are maybe stocked up on your team Leeds?
Yes,
they might have a bit of
so,
Southampton. Is it good enough to bench boost single game week?
I think so. If you've wildcarded into this and want to have, like I mentioned earlier, when I wildcard, ideally I want to be bench boosting all 15 players if I can for a double, unless someone crazy has got a great fixture. Often they might be more expensive, so typically you're going to have medium to cheap assets on the bench that play twice. That's the goal. Of course, sometimes you'll have the free hit around that as well. In a traditional season, that free hit wildcard bench boost combo is probably what we want. And it's what I still have and want to use later in the season. I've got the triple captain, got it on De Bruyne at the moment. Maybe I'll triple captain him, talk about that a bit later. On Leeds, so I think if you've been forced into this a little bit and you still want to use that bench boost, it's not terrible. So the comparison for me, and I'm going to make some transfers to this team. I mentioned I'd be taking a further, probably a -8.
Okay.
So I do Son and Kane to Salah and Antonio, which I think many people are thinking about. So I've got 2 more doubles. And then the other point hit might be Steer to Martinez, which finally gets me Martinez in, gets rid of my my waste of a Aston Villa goalkeeper. The way I see that then is we know they've got Man City fine for a goalkeeper. I think that's a free hit. Sanchez got 3 points against Man City. I'll be happy with some saves. And then Newcastle, which we'd hope for a clean sheet. I am tempted, however, to look at playing Saka. If I had Grealish, probably would have played him, but I got rid of him, and I got rid of him for Saka. But Grealish is probably unlikely to score or get points against City. Of course he could, but of all the teams in the league, it's probably up there as the least likely return. So really what you're looking at is Villa versus Newcastle and Arsenal versus Newcastle. I think that's a pretty fair shout. I would be happy to play Saka. I'm even considering it over Watkins. We'll see how that goes. Maybe less so just because I've got him. And then I think you can extend that logic to Leeds. They're playing Brighton at home. Sorry, Joe. We know our defence isn't the best. I think Brighton are going to be less dangerous than Spurs. We know that. I'm not saying we'll keep a clean sheet. But if you, for example, got Bamford, Dallas and Rafinha on your bench, maybe that is a bench boost. Realistically, what could I have in game week 26, I think it is? I could have a 4.5, a 5 and a 5.5, who could have 2 fixtures, but nowhere near as good as playing Brighton. You know, Bamford could score 3.
With your team there, would you... I know you're not keen on using the bench boost, but for a couple of hits, I mean, you could keep Kane and Son. I hear they're quite good. You could replace Steer and Kilman and perhaps another in order to free up some funds for them. And then you could have a pretty reasonable bench there, pretty good bench.
I could. And I mean, I know people are talking about keeping Son and or Kane because they've performed decently. But for me, the plan, I did Salah to Son a while ago. The plan was always to get Salah back.
Okay.
It's gone to plan so far. Why would I, what I wanted was Son and Kane to score me points. And then I wanted to get rid of them. The first half of that plan has worked. Why would I change it now when it's working?
It's good. Stick to the plan. So that's quite good advice, isn't it? I mean, you had a plan. So perhaps if your plan was always to bench boost, there's nothing really reason why you can't still bench boost if you've got the players.
And for me, I'm more likely to use the triple captain on KDB, as you can see there. Simply, the bench boost for me is better used personally for me later in the season with the wildcard and the free hit. And of course, I've got to use the triple captain sometime. We think City will have more doubles down the road, but Crystal Palace and a potentially unknown Villa side who haven't trained or what have you, I fancy it. I'm not going to get much better.
No, definitely. I like the look of Stones and Cancelo as that Manchester City double. I mean, look at that Crystal Palace at home and Villa at home. They 2 clean sheets. That's equivalent of 4 clean sheets.
Yeah.
Just there and then, and they're good value players. So no matter
at some point, Cancelo's getting a brace.
Yeah,
surely.
Well,
this 18 points will still be like on hold for a long time, maybe. Although historically, like we do start against Crystal Palace and they find a way to score.
Yeah.
But I think the form is so strong in defense. The thing is about the Leeds, if I can add a small point. I think it's still very acceptable approach to the thing is, if you already wildcard in 16 and you set up your team to bench boost, you need really something bigger than this to back out from it, because it's one of the chips that if you don't do it now and you were prepared for it and you are not doing it now, you will wait for another chance in which you might have a lot of funds remain on your bench that you might not be willing to have in case you get rid of it. Benching players, single game week players, like in your case, Dyer is bench boostable, for example, against Sheffield United. The thing is with Leeds, I think I'll be more tempted to bench boost the attacking players much more than if you have Meslier, like in my case, or Eiling, I wouldn't be so I would not be so tempted to bench boost them. But if I have Rafinha, Rodrigo, Bamford, those players can still deliver big even in a single game week. But however, if you have, we might touch on it, but a lot of managers have already loaded up on Southampton, for example, who are playing away to Leicester. That's tough. Like if
That
you
is
have
tough.
Adams or Kyle Walker
Yeah.
Peters, would you still be tempted to bench
Well,
boost?
I mean, this is
In my opinion, I wouldn't.
no. I mean,
Just on Leeds very quickly, if I may, because you mentioned
Yeah.
it. I think Meslier will make a few saves, Meslier, but yeah, fair. You'd keep him on the bench.
Yeah.
Eiling I had before, happy to take him out. I thought we might not get a double. We did. Sorry, we obviously changed fixtures. But he might. We have Cooper and Llorente back. So last time we had Llorente back, he didn't actually play. There's a chance Brighton play 2 up front. Typically, I'd expect you to continue that, Joe. So we may play
Possible.
3 at the back.
you never know. Honestly, I
Fair.
couldn't say-
If it's an in-game transition, I think Stroud.
played
we
8
don't have
centre
Phillips,
backs
which is
last
worth
time,
noting.
so you never know.
Yeah. Well, if you want to send Ben White back out to us, that'd be great. Thanks.
Well, no.
Is Llorente better than Alioski, just out of curiosity?
So Llorente is a centre back. So Cooper and Llorente centre back,
Okay.
which would mean
Eiling
you've
would
got
be-
Alioski or Dallas, and then Eiling maybe back to full back. Of course, if we play 3 at the back, that changes. Maybe Dallas goes into midfield. What I'm maybe expecting, and I'm definitely not certain here. You know, there's some good Leeds accounts. Go have a look. But Strauch is going to play over Phillips, which will damage our team overall. But he can play centre back too. I expect he may fill that Phillips role and then drop in with Llorente and Cooper, depending on the match situation, which leaves maybe Alioski and Eiling wing backs. Maybe Eiling hasn't played wing back yet this season, and then Dallas in midfield. But maybe we'll get a bit more information about that over the coming days.
I have bad memories with the strike. I brought him in when Phillips was injured, I think,
Yes.
and Bielsa has he announced that Strike will play there. 20 minutes later, he took him out. So I wouldn't
That's
go
tough.
there.
That's tough.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
tough.
But yeah, it could be 3-9 who he's now. Yeah, so it could be something.
I mean, that question that Matt Francis asked about the next double game week, and I think that's quite key. And I can see, Seb, why you've got your wild card and you've still got your free hit, and I can see why you want to use the bench boost, because the next big double game week we're anticipating is game week 26. Because of the cup commitments, is likely to be another blank game week in game week 29. So if you've got all 3 chips there, you can use your wildcard before game week 26. You can stock up on the bench boost there. You can forget about game week 29 and just use your free hit to cover it, and then you're back in with your normal team. I don't have my free hit. I'm not going to bench boost, so I'm going to be bench boosting around then, and I'm hoping that I can have players that are playing then, and also will be, but I don't mind if they're single game week players and they're good players. So for example, sake of argument, Spurs have a single game week. I'm very happy to have a bench of Kane and Son. Very happy with that. But it's that kind of thing. But I'll be able to address that with the wild card before. But I think what the point Matt raises is quite good about those who are thinking of using particular chips in the double game week this time around. There could be a better double game week for your mentality or your setup or the way you like to play the game. And for you, Seb, yeah, I think that's absolutely.
And I think we've mentioned this before, but this is a season unlike any other. Normally, we know there are 2 big double game weeks coming. We can choose one. Those have appeared this year, but so many other little things as well. Blanks and doubles we didn't expect. Fixtures moving. The potential of a triple, which is looking more likely than I expected. We can only assess our teams on what we know. We have some unknown unknowns,
Yeah.
but there's going to be unknown unknowns. For all we know, fingers crossed, but for all we know, we get to the next double game week and half the matches are off. For me personally, I think it comes down to, if you look at my team as it's set up there, especially with Salah and Antonio moves, I don't need to use it. I have a solid team that might miss out by 10, even 20 points to someone else. But I think when we get round to the next time, I can make that up and more. So why would I sacrifice a good team now when I can possibly take a bigger advantage next time?
Probably a good time to bring in Karen's team now, because we've got some questions. After I run through Karen's team, we've got some questions about particular players to bring in or leave out, and also on defenders, I believe. So Karen's team, you're well set up here as well. But I think you were partially considering a free hit, but we'll come to that. You got Meslier in goal, so obviously you'd hoped for a double there. You got Wan-Bissaka, Kufau, Diaz, great back line there, all with doubles. Rashford, Souček, Fernandes, De Bruyne, all with doubles, and Son. And then Jesus, who has a double, we think. You never know with Man City.
No.
And Bamford, a single, but it's Bamford. And then on the bench, you've got Forster holding. And what you were talking about there, if you've loaded up on Southampton, which you have with Adams there, and you've also got Jamal Lewis for Newcastle, who, if he plays, I believe he has a double. So that could be okay. So it's actually pretty good. So I mean, just before we come to some of those questions, what possible transfers or hits or are you thinking?
I was really hoping that Leeds keep the double game week because I've got 3 players in my team from that game. Now it's off. Then I'm down to 8 double game week players. The moves I'm actually the moves that Seb has mentioned is quite aligned with what I was planning to do. So I know Son has a very good fixture. But what if I take him out for somebody else that might not even play? I go to 3-4-3 and upgrade Adams to Vardy for a hit. He is someone I'm considering.
Are you confident Vardy would be fit, or is it maybe just a longer term look? You think you want him for the longer term?
I think Rogers today confirmed that him and Maddison are fit.
Okay.
He said they needed the break and they've had it. And they're now raring to go.
Yeah.
Both Vardy and Maddison.
You know, Maddison tempts me a little bit.
He does, but you never know with him. I thought briefly about Barnes, but they have Ayuso Perez and they have Under, and he can easily be benched. And I don't want to afford all of this chaos with Barnes. The thing is with Vardy that I'm actually considering him for the captaincy. We'll talk about him later on. But I'm questioning whether Son plus 4 points would it outscore Vardy or even out, because that's the main dilemma. And then Meslier has a Brighton at home. I'm not sure they can keep a clean sheet then, and therefore I'll be missing out on the potential hauls from the double game week keepers, especially the likes of Fabianski or Martinez. So I'm actually torn between these 3 moves. That would cost me a -8, and that's why I started to consider the free hit option, which will include these 3 moves, but also a couple of luxury moves to take out, for example, Jesus and get a defender. That's the play.
No, I mean I would. Yeah. I don't free hit. I mean, your team looks really good. You just go to bed now and then just wake up afterwards after the deadline.
Yeah.
And you will get loads of points. Because you look at those, or the amount of players, and they're good quality players with double game weeks. And maybe Jesus, could be upgraded, but maybe 1 or 2 transfers. That's it. That's good. That's set up really well for the double game week, irrespective of the changes, I think. Yeah,
it was sort of like a strategy I'm planning. The transfers I've been planning for the last few game weeks, and to see that I'm potentially gonna rip it up. And free hit, it feels like, no, why did I waste all my efforts on this? So I think the team is good. The premiums are there. Salah is the big mess. So the free hit will certainly include Salah in my team somehow. However, speaking about Son, who I'm considering to sell for the likes of Vardy, we've got some questions already from the community about them, about Spurs assets. So Conrad is asking, are Son and Kane good options this week against Sheffield United? Wout Martins is asking, who are the best defenders to target? That's another category if you've got options to buy defenders. Or I'm not sure if he means target to buy or target to get attackers against.
I think he means just to target as in to, pinpoint in your team,
Yeah, okay. And Phil Stamps is asking, who are the best strikers to get in? Can Antonio's fitness be trusted? And can Vardy play twice in a week? That aligns with the plans I'm having, actually. Or is it worth getting less fashionable players like Firmino or Martial? So, Seb, Son or Kane, you mentioned that you plan to sell them as well. So, are you selling both? Or if you have to keep one, which one you would keep?
Oh, if I had to keep one. Obviously, with price, I'd probably end up losing Kane, but then I want Salah, and he's a midfielder. I guess I could. Kane is the sacrificial lamb. If I kept Son, I could possibly wrangle having Salah in another spot. Maybe if Saka need to downgrade Kane quite a bit, probably someone else. I think Son and Kane are great by all means, and you've got Son there, and I'd be tempted to hold him in your position. For me, it was Salah twice and then going forwards versus Son and Kane, and maybe I'm just falling into biases here, but I didn't own Son and Kane just because I did. I owned them with the intention of then making Salah and Antonio work. So yeah, I sat down, I looked at the data, I decided on that plan. It's so far working. Why would I change it? I've not seen anything that would make me change my mind.
Right, sounds good. How about you, Joe? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've got Kane. I'm keeping Kane. Kane's just really good, and he's playing Sheffield United, who are rubbish. And they played they got a goal against Newcastle, but my cat could, who I let out of my room earlier. And so, yeah, I'm keeping Kane. If I had Son and Kane, I'd be tempted to keep both of them. Really, I think they could easily. It's one of those. It's one of those.
If you had the choice, if you had no players on a wildcard, a free hit, would you
get rid of your daughter
choose...
or your son? Ooh.
Goodness,
I would try and fight and keep both of them because.
But would you say you had none of those players, and you can choose Salah and Antonio for 4 fixtures, or Son and Kane for 2 fixtures combined? Who are you going with?
Son and Kane, if I've got them already, because it probably involve
no,
hits.
but you don't have them already. You've got neither.
If I don't have them, right.
Let's say you're on a free hit or something. So you've got none of them, none of those 4 players. So there's no bias to who you already hold. Who are you picking?
I would want one of Son and Kane, irrespective of the double.
Okay.
And I would
so then my question would then be, just because you already hold those players, okay, if it costs you points, that's another conversation. But why are you making a different decision?
Now, in the great world of double game weeks, of which we've all had about a decade of them, how often do you come towards the end of it and think, why did I take out that player who just got loads of points and for X double game week player? And I think it's about replacing bad players or good players. And Kane and Son we saw this week. I mean, I've got Kane still. I had Son. Son didn't do anything in the free hit, and Kane did. But that decided the rank. That decided the rank. Who dropped 100k? Who rose 200k on the back of those? They're just too powerful. And I was saying on the video I did with Andy when I had my initial free hit draft. This was before we knew that the Spurs and Villa game had been moved to a Spurs and Fulham game. I had Son and Kane on because their ownership is so massive. Having one is not good enough. Even having both and not captaining one is not good enough. But yes,
the thing is sometimes you have to play the math. Like you are getting. I understand the question from Seb. If you didn't have anyone, I would get four games in my hands and hope for the best. I know that Son can return against Sheffield United, but he can eventually blank as he did against Fulham. So if I pick Son and he blanks against Sheffield United, it would be a long week. It's probably the longest game week I can ever remember. But it's gonna be like Son 2 points against Sheffield. He doesn't have another chance. But the Salah or Antonio's, although Antonio has question marks, I think his minutes will be managed. Some quotes today that another striker might make a debut from the team. But anyway, Antonio, Watkins, anyone.
Karam, sorry, mate, I interrupted you. Please continue.
No worries. That's what I'm trying to say is that for me personally, the fact that I'm considering Son out for a hit, it really depends on how. It's team dependent. You're gonna play. God, it sounds so good.
Let me. You mentioned a hit there. I think that's a good point, right? Because this isn't just a clean decision. There are points involved. Joe, what you were saying about. So my next point might be put down by this, but Son and Kane are good. Take your point.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned in double game weeks in the past, we go, that single game week player who actually scored 12 points and outscored my double who got 10 points.
Yeah.
Can you tell me who that player was going to be before the week? Because after the week, all good. But if it's some random Sunderland defender,
I think
I have to make the decision based on what I can predict.
I think it's because
right now I think 4 fixtures is better than 2.
Yeah.
With decent players against decent opposition. If Son and Kane both score braces, absolutely you made the right decision if you look at outcome. But I'm backing I'm backing without knowing what's going to happen, that I just give myself the best chance by going with decent stats and 4 fixtures. Now I admit Antonio's hamstrings might go and I might look stupid, but I'm risking. I'm taking that risk.
I think I might be different about different premium assets, but Son and Kane have been so consistent this season, and they're playing Sheffield United, the derby of this season. So if they were playing, well, if it was that Fulham game, because Fulham's defence has got better, I would think maybe. And Sheffield United's, I don't know. Let's have a look. Now I've got a couple of tables I can put up on the screen. I must admit, I haven't really looked at this in detail. So
I think off the top of my head, you say derby of this season. Now you might be right, but I vaguely recall them pretty much massively underperforming based on their stats. Derby. They may now have, actually followed that.
They also massively got relegated, which is.
Sorry, I mean Sheffield United, not Derby. Right. Sorry, I mean fair. I'm not arguing with Derby. That was not a good team. But I think Sheffield United possibly are underperforming. Now, of course, you could just say, well, that's because they're rubbish. Of course they're underperforming. But I'm not sure we're going to see them. They look good against Newcastle from what I saw, and they've looked unfortunate in a few games.
Okay, I'm going to eat my words here because I haven't really. I put these figures up without looking at them. So what these figures up I've got are the best defences and the worst defences and the best attacks. So what I've got here is I've got a list over the last 4 matches. This is for both defence and attack, and for expected goals. So which attacks have been expected to score most, and indeed what goals they have scored. And on the other side, I've also got a table there with big chances conceded. So what I was hoping to do is, what you ideally want is a double game week, is to match them up. So you want a really good attack against a really bad defence. And looking at that, so in terms of expected goals, Villa are top. They're the most attacking at the moment on recent form. But they have had COVID to decimate all of their organisation, so we don't know how they're going to come out from that. City are next, and then Arsenal, then Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham, and then Leeds. So these are the attacks we really want. A bit further down, we've got the likes of Sheffield United, even Brighton, West Ham, and Fulham. But the point you were making about Sheffield United, well, I'm starting to think, hang on a minute, maybe I've got this wrong. Because looking at big chances conceded, same as last week, Crystal Palace the worst. So immediately I'm looking at City against Palace as a really good match if you want to pick a captain. Especially, but also players to target. Leeds still conceding loads. West Brom still conceding loads. Newcastle still conceding loads. But the second best defence in terms of big chances conceded.
Wow.
Hold my hands up. Sheffield United.
And looking at that as well, I know I'm sort of playing if, buts and maybes here. But West Ham, sort of 2/3, just below halfway down on expected goals with 4.24.
Yeah.
They're playing West Brom, who are 12 big chances conceded, and right near the top of that, and then Burnley, who are in the middle. It's worth remembering, though, that West Ham side have not had the player I want for quite a while, who is Antonio. We know, in theory, he would add to that XG. They would have a higher total. Yeah. Now, I know that's a bit speculative.
No.
I think playing it, I reckon I've got a better chance of it coming off.
Yes,
all I can do is play the odds.
We've got to assess, on the odds how they would fare. By the same token, why are Sheffield United's? Bear in mind, these figures were compiled before the Arsenal and Palace match tonight. But why is Sheffield United so low down there? Is Man City, by the way, defence is the best in terms of big chances conceded. Only 2 over the last 4 matches. Sheffield United have only conceded 4, same as Tottenham, and 1 more than Liverpool and Manchester United. But they've just played Newcastle as well. So you've got to look at the opposition and who they're facing. Spurs are better than Newcastle. So by the same token about West Ham, attack should improve because they're playing West Brom, who are conceded loads of big chances. It could be. So it's one of those, I'm not sure. But I must admit, the figures were quite surprising. Sheffield United haven't been playing Newcastle every week, just that one match out of 4. So yeah, maybe a bigger look at the figures there. But it does show that perhaps the underlying stats do say if you do want to get rid of Kane and Son, there's a possibility it could pay off.
I mean, sometimes these numbers could be deceiving. Like, okay, they conceded 4 big chances the last 4, but I just checked now. Who did they play? They played Everton, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and Newcastle. Teams. 3 of those 4 teams are not scoring goals naturally.
Brilliant. Okay, well that explains
but
it.
yet when they got 4 big chances, they conceded 4. So we stand by the argument of last Scoutcast when we said that Ramsdale is not a good goalkeeper. So if Son and Kane get the chances, I think they can score from it. However, there's no question about the moral of the team now, that getting their first win in about, I don't know, 20 games, or I don't know exactly how many games they have been without a win, and they could still make an upset. They could still upset the Spurs by, I don't know, dropping deep or looking out for a 0-0 game. I just don't know what to expect from this game, and that's one chance, one shot as a Son owner. If he gets something out of it, then that's nice. But if he does a blank, then I'll be saying, I wish I got Salah, or I wish I got Vardy. So coming back to the point where I keep Son or Kane, I might take a gamble and sell him. I know they are great. The thing is, if you are not on well, of course, if you're not free hitting on 19, you're gonna look a little bit. You can't look anymore for more than 3 game weeks, I think, with the current situation. But you're gonna look a bit beyond that. And I know they are Spurs. They are like the games next after the game week 19 are Mourinho's game in a way. But they played Liverpool in 20. Brighton is a good one. It's a captaincy options, to be honest. But then Chelsea. So 2 of the next 3 afterwards, it could be tricky. And having Vardy, for example, who has Southampton and Chelsea, Everton and Leeds and Fulham afterwards. So that's a good run. So it's not only about double game week 19, it's 20 as well. Could be tricky. We might end up like losing our conscience about, what's going on in game week 20. I don't know who's playing whom, because we've spent a lot of time and effort and energy on just preparing for the circumstance of game week 19. So could pay off.
With the figures we got up on the screen, City are second for expected goals. They are top in terms of big chances conceded, as in they've conceded the fewest. Now, Seb sent me a picture before we went on there. I managed to get it in. Now, I don't think Karam's seen this yet, so this is a good opportunity. I'll put it up on the screen. Good opportunity to help our podcast listeners out and Karam by explaining what on earth I've just put up on the screen.
So I'll hand over to Karam. One thing I'd love to hear before you look at it too long: which way is Cancelo going? Which way is City going?
So what are we looking at? We're looking at a heat map, but what's it showing? Is it showing him very exciting? Is it showing him hardly moving? Is it it looks like red, orange, yellow. It's very bright. But as you said, which way is he going? Attacking or defending?
You mean Cancelo?
Yeah, where's he mainly stationed?
So without looking at the arrow at the top, if you look at that heat map, which way is City attacking?
Yeah, it's down.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, again, for the podcast, we've got a heat map up, and you'd expect Cancelo has got a lot of dangerous touches.
Yeah.
City are attacking from left to right, and he has more touches in the opposition half on the right-hand side of our picture. Yeah. Possibly more in Brighton's area than he does in his own, and getting quite central too.
Yeah.
If you flip that around, it almost looks like a not bad left back.
Yeah.
Which is astonishing, I think.
Yeah. So basically, Cancelo is the answer to the question: why is Man City's attack so good, and why is their defence so good? And Cancelo is one of the answers to that. He's a great player to have. He's like, it reminds me, watching him in that last game, and in fact several of the games, he's like that really massive guy in that Monty Python's Meaning of Life, Mr. Creosote. He's sitting there with bringing all the foods, and the waiters are bringing piling loads of food into him, and all it takes is one wafer thin mint for him to explode. Cancelo is going to explode in assists. He is gorging on them. He is getting fat on assist potential, and he's going to explode with them. So.
Michael Rogers in the chat has just said that Trent and Robbo probably have similar stats, and they absolutely probably do. I'd say maybe the difference with Cancelo is how central some of that is, which at the moment it's not led to goals, but
the difference is
gets,
also
a couple of creative chances.
Yeah. A couple of million as well.
He has a lot of touches on the heat map in the penalty box, and there was an incident where I think Byrne was in contact with him. If he missed out like milliseconds, that's a pen in the first half, I reckon. So it's so good. And sometimes you feel like he's a number 8, opens up to Mahrez or Bernard to go to the wing, and he plays in the center.
Yeah,
and
that's what we were talking
so
about.
good.
We were talking about De Bruyne overlapping on that right hand side.
Yeah.
I wonder if Cancelo's almost doing that job now. Maybe that's one of the reasons De Bruyne isn't needed out there.
Probably, yeah.
Cancelo brings me on to my team. So I'm going to put my team's picture up. There's no Cancelo yet. So I have got, at the moment, a McCarthy at the back, no longer a double game week. James Justin, who has scored an amazing goal in the Cup. And I'm delighted to play in the double game week. I've got John Stones, Kufau, Dallas down to a single game week. Soucek, Mane, Fernandes, Salah, who I'm kind of captain, Kane and Bamford up front. And on my bench, I've got Steer, non-playing, Calvert-Lewin, non-playing, Stevens, non-playing, and then Mitchell, who's playing, but he's playing Man City.
So probably not a bench boost.
So not a bench boost. I hadn't planned for a bench boost. So it goes back to that original point we made about, sort of stick to your plan, because I don't think the developments change it drastically. I had not planned in any way for a bench boost. In order for me to get a bench boost, I think I'd have to take some kind of minus 12, and it would still be rubbish. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm tailor-made for either the triple captaincy or just going in with loads of double game week players. So we've got some questions on the captaincy, but I'll just say my moves that I'm planning. I've got Calvert-Lewin there, and I like the look of Antonio. Calvert-Lewin to Antonio is a good move. Why not? If Antonio's hamstrings hopefully last. But what I mean, Calvert-Lewin's not going to play. He's going to get 0. And Antonio, hopefully, he's going to get more than 0. Hopefully. And that leaves me enough money to upgrade Mitchell to Cancelo. So Mitchell and Calvert-Lewin to Cancelo and Antonio.
What are the two you're going to bench from
and
the
then
11
and then I would bench Dallas. My first sub would be Dallas. Now, I think that sounds reasonable, considering Mitchell and Calvert-Lewin are not great this week, and I'll be getting two double game week players with good fixtures. The two teams with the best fixtures.
You're gonna bench another one, right? Dallas or
Dallas would be benched, yeah. So Calvert-Lewin would come. Sorry, Antonio.
Dallas and Bamford. I mean, yeah.
Bamford. I'll play Bamford. Yeah, definitely play Bamford against Brighton. Brighton's defence is it's really bad. I can't emphasise how bad it is. They just concede anywhere, any time, any place. They all concede. So for me, that's what I'm thinking about. But one of my main things I'm considering is the triple captaincy. Should I triple captain or not? So I've had some questions. FPLT asks, are people sleeping on Liverpool assets for the double game week? Especially with Bruno, 1 card from suspension, and City getting better at grinding out unspectacular wins. John FPL also wonders about the Fernandes card situation and KDB. Is he off penalties? So for me, this brings in the two dilemmas I'm thinking of. Do I triple captain? And also, I don't have KDB, but I am going big on Liverpool. So I've gone into this through happenstance with Mane and Salah, and we haven't really seen much of them except in the Cup when they played a bunch of children from the West Midlands, and Mane scored twice and Salah scored as well. So they've got their scoring boots on against very young opposition, but nevertheless, Mane to KDB and then captain KDB takes away the captaincy from Salah, who has 2 home games in games he can score in. Plus, it would probably involve a hit, because I'd probably want to do something else like Calvert-Lewin to Antonio. And then I might miss out on Mane's points, and then KDB could get rested. But then KDB could absolutely, explode with goals and assists. And also, the second point is I'm not sure I really want to triple captain anyone. I think there's going to be so many double game weeks. There's going to be double game weeks. There's going to be a big double game week in 26, but there's going to be the odd little ones. There's so many fixtures getting postponed. So say we have a double game week in the future in which Villa have 2 great home games. I'm going to get Grealish in and triple captain him. That sounds amazing. If Liverpool have a great double game week, it's a small one, and Salah has got 2 home games like he has here, but they're much better home games, much better than Manchester United. Say he's playing Brighton and Sheffield, I don't know, whatever, just playing, two much worse teams at home. I think that could be good. Spurs, Kane, triple captain against two easy tides at home. I'd be up for that as well. So I'm wondering whether the triple captaincy might be better to be saved, and I'll just go in with what I got. But I had a look at the Rate My Team computer at Fantasy Football Scout, and I had a look at to see who would be the good captain or the good triple captaincy shouts. And what I picked is I picked out the 5 players that the Rate My Team computer, as of this morning, believes will get more than 10 points. So there's only 5 of them. Salah, top, 13.95. So he's anticipated to get at least that. De Bruyne, 12.48. Sterling, 12.2. Fernandes, 11.6. Mane, 11.34. So me switching Mane to De Bruyne for a hit, I don't know. I don't know whether that would actually pay off. And Mane's good.
I feel like the hit is the key there, right? It feels,
it's just not really.
It maybe feels. And say we could only make 37 transfers a year, and we got no hits. We could only make one a week.
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't spend one on this.
No.
So maybe not.
I just wonder with get all excited about the double game week and let's use my chip here, triple captaincy, and let's let's make this move. Let's take this hit here. But I don't want to get to the end of this double game week. Mane scored 3 goals against Manchester United and Burnley at home, which is completely possible. And I'm thinking, why did I transfer him out for KDB? He was rested for one and gave a penalty to, I don't know, Gundogan or my dog or someone, whoever was passing. And I don't know, or KDB's going to come out of it with 14 points in each game. And it for a triple captaincy, it would be something that would be legendary in the memory. And that's the decision I have to make. But I don't know what either of you two think. Who you're captaining, who you would captain if you had like a completely free choice.
On the chips, I mean, I'm definitely captaining KDB. It's just whether I triple captain. But on the chips, and I don't know what you reckon about it, Karam, but I feel like sometimes psychologically, maybe other people, are stuck between, that first wildcard. And you're sometimes like, I just want to use it as soon as possible, get it out the way, and then I can focus on the season. And then in the second half of the season, you suddenly do the opposite and are like, I must hold that wild card for unknown events. It almost, that second example, there's a psychological phrase for it, which I forget, but you're playing, say, Zelda or something, and you get a really super powerful sword, and you never use it, and it gets to the end of the game, and the game finishes, and you didn't use it, because you were saving it for that one big baddie just in case. It kind of feels like that. And I mean, I guess our job is to, as best we can, rid ourselves of those biases and just play what we see in front of us. But that's a lot easier said than done, of course. I don't know about what you think, Karam.
Well, I mean, the wild card, especially at the beginning of the season, it has different purposes, I believe. You look out at who is going to start with a good form. You're going to start building a good team value to help you out during the season. But I think the second wild card is really comes around where we need to hold it when it comes around the double game week and the blind game weeks later in the season. And I think this time is, as we mentioned in the Scoutcast on Tuesday, it's incredible time that it almost feels it's tempting you to do anything whenever you hear some news. To me, with the chips, people who just use the wildcard 16, I don't think they will be so tempted to use it now because they just prepared for it, for this run of fixtures. But for example, the triple captaincy, as much as I think it's a good opportunity to use it, any game could be just off during the week. It's a 8 or 9 days of a double game week, and then all of a sudden, X team has a outbreak of COVID-19 and the game is cancelled. Then you end up with one, and you never know which team is gonna get his game postponed, or if the player himself gets self-isolating. I think it's too risky now with the circumstances to play the triple captain in general. Now, in terms of who I want, my problem is that I don't have Salah. I actually start to lose confidence in KDB. I looked at his KDB this season is really different from last season. Last season, you just put on him the captaincy, he gets you points. This season, he has 4 double-digit hauls, But at the same time, if you look at the other scores, it's either 2 and 3 points or 13 or 14. And he can easily be the best player on the pitch. Like yesterday, taking a lot of shots. And now, I don't think he lost the penalties. I think it will come back to him. But I just don't have that confidence in myself. I know he's a great player. I love him, and he will be in my team. But would I even captain him? I don't know. The one I'm tempted by is actually Vardy now, because he, for me, probably the third best captaincy option or in the double game week, arguably. But yeah, looking at the Fernandes is a funny story. He would be the Diego Costa who we will never captain him. We will never triple captain him because he's on 4 yellow cards and he will continue to score points. So he's also someone that, what if he gets a 5th yellow card in the first game of double game week against Liverpool, which is a big rivalry. It could be very tense and a lot of aggressive game. You never know what's going to happen with these players.
Do we know what Fernandes has got his yellow cards for so far? Because this wasn't me, someone else pointed out to me, but Grealish, I believe, has got half his yellow cards for just arguing with the ref, and he's also on 4 for this upcoming double. You would think if there's any yellow card you can avoid, it would be something like arguing with the ref, as opposed to maybe, I don't know, a Højbjerg or something who is getting them for, deliberate but good tactical fouls.
I think the last yellow card Bruno got against Burnley was a foul, actually. It was a tactical foul, if I can remember correctly. I don't think it was he used to argue sometimes with the referee, but sure. I don't think he will do it because he's on 4 yellow cards and he needs to maintain himself. But it could be on a counter, for example, or something from Salah. He had to do something and stop him.
I don't think Liverpool away, Fulham away. It doesn't excite me like a triple captain should.
But it's a Bruno away theory, right? It's always been like the Bruno away theory until he blanked against.
Is that the threat of a card? It just brings that bit of doubt for the captaincy. I'm happy to field him, but then if he misses that second game, it'd be so infuriating.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how much I believe in. I say believe in home and away. That's not true, but in terms of maybe just one individual player over a relatively small sample of games, maybe it's a small factor, but I don't know. The fact that it's Liverpool is more important to me.
I think Liverpool at home, for me, for my setup without KDB, I think Salah's the best option. My team computer thinks so. But I had a look at some underlying stats in terms of looking at the captaincy, and it's not good news for Salah. So this is the last 4 matches. There's some promising signs there. So Liverpool have not been in the best attacking form. I think they've some 0-0s, 1-0s. It's not the best attacking form in the league. But looking at the big chances table, last 4 matches, De Bruyne, El Ghazi, Chris Wood at Burnley, and Giroud are top with 5. But with 4 is Fernandes, Firmino, Watkins, Trezeguet, Salah, and Caballero. I've excluded players without a double game week from this, so there's only a few anyway. But looking in terms of expected goal involvement, Salah's expected to have been involved in a couple. De Bruyne more than 3. But then looking down as well, the sort of shots inside the box, shots on target, chances created. So El Ghazi, Giroud, Watkins and Trezeguet are the sort of shots inside the box guys. El Ghazi is the shots on target guy. He's even on target when he's shooting from outside the box. And then Salah's quite low down. He's had 7 shots inside the box and 3 on target in his last 4 matches. Caballero is an interesting one here. If you want a good enabler for a double game week, I'm not saying Caballero is Clint Dempsey, but those will remember whenever Fulham had a double game week in the past, it was the Fulham guys, including Clint Dempsey, who ended up with huge hauls. And Caballero, he's got goals in him. He can score against anyone. He's only 5.3. So if you're looking for an enabler and a good double game week player, maybe for a bench boost, Caballero is an interesting one. El Ghazi as well, very interesting. But I put this up there really for the captaincy. It doesn't really help me with my Salah decision. But then De Bruyne as well, just six shots inside the box. Salah was 7. So in terms of like open play goals, Salah's still better than De Bruyne, as you would say, even while Salah's not been in great form.
Could I tempt you into thinking about De Bruyne by bringing up one of your own tables, which is the goals imminent?
Okay, I haven't got that on
Is he
me,
there?
so you can
Is
describe
there?
it.
Yeah, I'll describe it to you. So there's a few players we don't really care about on there. Dendoncker and friends.
Yeah.
Trezeguet, Watkins, Bamford, De Bruyne, Aubameyang, Dendoncker, McBurney, Martial, and Maddison all make it onto your table.
Okay, well,
so
that does correspond
maybe
with
I'll let
some
you
of these.
explain.
Well, yeah.
Maybe I'll let you explain how that works. But the thing that stands out to me is De Bruyne has returned some points. Karam obviously mentioned maybe he's not quite happy with how many, but he's on that goals imminent table, which tells me that there could be more to come. Not just what he's currently been returning, he's underperforming. We can expect, hopefully, a step up in form. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things about the goals imminent table is obviously it precludes those that have already delivered with goals. I also have an assists imminent table, sort of its sister table. But yeah, with the goals imminent table, what that looks at essentially looks at things like big chances and big chances missed as well. But primarily it's looking at those who've had 10 goal attempts but only one goal to show for it. But they're also performing well in a lot of other metrics as well. And so I've also included having an XG, expected goal minimum, of 1 over the last 4 matches. So they were expected to indeed score 1, and either they did or they didn't. So what that's doing basically is just saying underlying stats, they should be delivering, but they're not. And it also shows for whatever reason. So sometimes they hop off the table just because the stats just never quite come to fruition. And big chances missed is one of those interesting ones. So what you're looking for is less big chances to be missed. I think Ibrahimovic, when he was at Manchester United, was one of the great examples of this. So many big chances. He kept missing them all. And it just kept going on and on. I was almost tempted to change the metrics. He was breaking the table. And then suddenly, after 11 game weeks, I can't remember who he took on, suddenly it was a goal, it was a brace, and suddenly the floodgates opened and he was back on it again. But that's what we're looking at. So yeah.
There is one player on there that I hadn't spotted until now who appears on both your goals imminent and your assists imminent. Can you guess who that is?
Well,
Chris Wood.
He's on neither. It is a striker.
De Bruyne?
Chris Wood?
Martial?
Nope.
Bamford?
I'll give you one more.
Watkins?
Not Bamford. He's on goals imminent.
Maybe Watkins.
Nailed it. Watkins. I
he will remain there. He will remain there forever.
I agree with you. I think maybe he's maybe underperforming XG due to quality.
No, I mean,
it's an interesting thing to look at.
If he's playing 2 games and he's got goal and assists in him,
yeah,
that's good.
I suddenly don't hate him. I quite like him. Okay. Man City's one of those games, but I like having him.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have De Bruyne, so I'm going to be quite scared. But yeah, I could just get him in for Mane. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a me kind of move though. Which
doesn't feel like a you. What's a you kind of move though?
Not that.
Yaya Toure.
Yeah.
I think the captaincy takes a really big deal for your move, especially if you get KDB, is he your captain over Salah? Is he a priority over Salah? Are you happy with captaining Salah? Because I think if you captain Salah, I don't think that the Mane to KDB there will be a big difference between both of them.
No. So you're looking. I'd be looking at somewhere between 10 and 20 extra points. It would also mitigate against the bench boost. Now the bench boost this time around is not as potent as it was. If Leeds and Southampton were both playing twice, I'd be scared of that. But that's not the case. So it's just a single game. So yeah, they could do well against Brighton. They could do very well. But nevertheless, and Southampton could do very well against Leicester. But it's not something where I think, I've got to have my triple captaincy to mitigate against that potent bench boost.
I guess ultimately you've got to make a decision that you're happy with.
I feel there will be better game weeks for the triple captaincy. There may not be. And I remember last season, I just by hook or by crook, and the way it all panned out, I had to use my bench boost in a single game week. And I hated it. And I want to use it in a double game week. But with the triple captaincy, that's also best for a double game week. But there are these little double game weeks coming. I don't know when they're going to be, but they're going to be spread out a bit. And obviously they're going to involve some teams that are in the cup. We're already seeing postponements with the likes of Grealish as well. I think these are really good. I think some of my best triple captaincies in the past have been those sort of talisman players for teams. I think Payet at West Ham. A lot of people went for, I can't remember who it was who had good fixtures then, but I went for Payet at West Ham, and he did me okay. And it's those kinds of players. I like to get a Talisman who maybe get penalties, set pieces, all the basics really. And I'm confident with Salah as a captain, but I'm not triple captaincy confident about him. Let's move on to the next 4 fixtures before we wrap up. So what we got up on the screen here is for this section is the next 4 fixtures. We're looking at game week 19 through to game week 20, 21, 22, and of course we've got the double game weeks there. So what I'm looking at really is teams that are good. I'm looking at players who can be good to go for a number of game weeks. As we can see, Man City are top. Should mention really that because we're partnered with Fantasy Football with Football Index, there also could be players on here you can look at buying through that format, and that's where you can buy and sell shares in players using fantasy football knowledge to make a profit. So looking at that list here, we've got Man City top. Obviously they've got Palace and Villa in their double game weeks, and they've got West Brom, Sheffield United and Burnley. Leicester are good, so those investing in Vardy or Maddison even, they do well. They've got Southampton and Chelsea in game week 90, but then they've got Everton, Leeds and then Fulham, so lots of good fixtures there. Fulham as well, upturn there. On paper a tough game week 19, but they were quite resolute against Spurs. They got Chelsea and Manchester United, but then they got Brighton, West Brom and Leicester. These good fixtures there. And then we've got West Brom themselves. They've got Fulham and Sheffield United after Man City and this double game week. Newcastle, I'm just going to ignore Newcastle because I'm so annoyed with them for getting beaten by a worse team. And then Villa. So Villa have Newcastle and Man City, but then they also have Burnley, Southampton and West Ham. And Manchester United have quite a nice run as well. Sheffield United after the double game week and Southampton in the mix as well. Chelsea as well. If we think they're going to improve, maybe we're sleeping on Chelsea. Chelsea have got Fulham and Leicester, but then they've got Wolves and Burnley at home and then Tottenham away. But right down there we've got Sheffield United, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, which going back to that original question, getting rid of Kane and Son, well, they don't really have great fixtures after game week 19. So yeah, maybe that move would pay off. West Ham are okay fixtures, I think. Burnley and West Brom in the game week 19, but then they got Crystal Palace, Liverpool and Villa, so not bad fixtures, not great fixtures, but not bad fixtures for those bringing in perhaps Antonio, West Ham defenders. They're not bad fixtures there, but yeah, just really just looking at those fixtures going forward after game week 19. Does it spring any ideas of players to get in, especially with game week 19 in mind?
Yeah, I think there's a few players on there that you mentioned, teams even, that maybe we're not considering. As Karam said, we're so focused on these double game weeks, these blanks. Maybe the managers will do the best out of this period, or the ones that do keep an eye on that sort of thing. I think if we even extend it past the 4 game weeks, teams like Villa, Leicester jump out to me. We know Man City, Man United, what have you, are good and have good fixtures. But someone like Leicester, Karam, you're looking at Vardy. Maddison interests me because consistently good stats, a decent price. Just a case of can I fit him in? Ziyech, Chilwell at Chelsea. I really would like to try to find a spot for at least one Chelsea player, maybe a defender.
Do you know what? I was thinking Mason Mount in true dullard fashion. Mason Mount always plays. Mason Mount assists. Mason Mount scores.
I had a look at the stats when Ziyech was last fit, which I think off the top of my head was game week 7 to 11. Mount was pretty high up for expected goals, and then Ziyech was quite high up for expected assists. So maybe a bit of a tandem there.
Yeah, no. Mason Mount has passed my brain during this week. I don't think I'm going to go there. But
I think you can do better. But it's an interesting one to.
But if I did, it would also fit in with the way I play the game. I mean, what could be more interesting than Mason Mount in a double game week? But he could end up being the top scorer. You never know. So, I mean, looking at this as well, I've got some ideas for differential. So I'll come to that in a second. But I just want to mention that you can sign up to Football Index today. Take advantage of their 7-day, £500 money back guarantee. And there's a link in the description below to sign up, as well as a link to check out the full terms and conditions for 18 plus only. And please gamble responsibly. You can check out begambleaware.org. And there's a link for this in the description as well. So, Seb and Karam have both gone for Cancelo recently. Yep. Karam, you went for Gundogan, who didn't end up getting the points last.
KDB wasted his assist.
Yeah, he wasted. It was KDB's fault. He wasted our captaincy on him, and he's just rubbish.
What a waste!
Rubbish. Yeah. Everyone get rid of him because I haven't got him.
No, before the differential side, can I add a note on the fixtures? I appreciate that Johnston, the goalkeeper of West Brom, is perhaps the most popular 4.5 goalkeeper. But I do like the look of Areola of Fulham. He looked really good against Spurs. He had really rough double game week, but it's really the double game week for points. I think it's for the save points. And he has Brighton, West Brom. So I don't think you were gonna get him as your first choice goalkeeper, but if you want to rotate, I didn't work out the rotation pairs if you are playing with two goalkeepers, but Areola could be decent in the double game week if you're gonna bench boost, and game week 21 against West Brom. They looked okay defensively, so they might take a clean sheet against them. I just want to mention that the Aston Villa, they are almost top for sixth best in terms of overall fixtures. The question is, I don't know who is fit from them now. We only know that Trezeguet has COVID. He posted that himself. But who else is available for double game week 19? So for me, as a non-free hitter in 19, assuming that there are some are doing so, if I want to invest in Villa, where should I go? I have no idea really, because I don't know who is fit.
Do you think you would avoid them altogether? Or
probably I would just avoid them altogether. We've seen with the Newcastle when they had the outbreak, they lost really their form, and they miss out. I think that I remember it was 9 first team players, so they are using the same 11, the same 15 players every game week, plus Barkley if he's back. So how much they will they be affected by the COVID? We don't really know. It could be they could be affected like Newcastle, or they could be okay like Fulham, for example. They won in the cup. They performed against against Spurs. We don't really know what status they are in now, but the fixtures are good for them. So it's really confusing a bit.
Yeah, I mean the City game sort of scuppers my interest in Villa. The Newcastle game obviously great, but it's just really a single game week, and they actually interest me from game week 20 onwards. But I also want to see what effect COVID has had on them, because it's affect. I mean, as you know, Karam, we talk about your own experience with it. It affects people in different ways. I don't know who's got it in the Villa team and how it's affecting any of them. They might all be fine. They might not. But it's just one of those things. Let's move on to my differential. It's a player that we've all mentioned and we're all either going to get in or certainly considering. And it's, of course, Antonio, who's only owned by 3.6% of players. We know last season he's hardly owned by anyone. And when he went off, he really went off. Huge scores last season. And that's the sort of pedigree he had. He's had, I think, 6 starts. He's certainly he's only had 6 games with significant minutes this season because of injury, and he's returned in 3 of those. So if he plays, good chance he's going to do something. So last season he had 10 goals and 4 assists. The previous season 6 goals and 8 assists. He's only 6.2 million. He's absolutely ideal for me. I have a massive Calvert-Lewin red flag in my team, and it just says Antonio, take a risk. It's a double game week. One of the stats I looked at, because he's had limited minutes this season, was minutes per goal attempt in the box. Amongst West Ham assets, he's the best. He is firing in a shot in the box every 35.9 minutes. Haller is a bit behind him, but obviously Haller's now at Ajax, so he'll have to shoot pretty far now to score for West Ham right across the channel. But then you've got Souček, who we haven't mentioned because we've mentioned him so many times in other another Scoutcast. But yeah, if you don't have Souček, get Souček in, because he is 5.3 now, midfielder, and he's firing in a goal attempt in the box every 58.8 minutes, which is great for a supposedly defensive midfielder who costs around 5 million in the
and he's
game.
very roughly matching. I remember you mentioning, was it 1 and 3 goals or something at his previous club, which he then managed to do at West Ham last season. And very roughly, I think he's doing 1 and 3 this season again, isn't he?
Which is ideal for a 6.5, a 7 million midfielder if you get him in. How about 5?
I think the trick, which Joe has nailed, is you don't necessarily know when those goals are going to come. So you maybe just have to pick him for 15 and take your 5 goals.
Luckily, I've been blessed with an awful bench, so I've had to play him every week. So I've got all of his returns, and I can look back on this season. So I got him every time. I didn't nail those picks. I just played him every week.
Don't say that. It was a deliberate and sensible decision.
But Antonio has got the pedigree. He's got the skills. He's got the underlying stats. He's got the returns when he starts or when he gets significant minutes.
And you know what I really like about Antonio is that sometimes when we pick differentials, we're just trying to be a bit different. It's not really, you're not picking him because he's different. I genuinely think he's one of the best point scorers over the next few weeks if he can keep fit. Yeah. So it actually is a pick you would make if he was 20%, 5%. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I really like him. There is obviously the question mark. Will he stay fit? So we had this last season. He never did. He just stayed fit and he kept scoring. He does well. A bit like, remember when Danny Ings, just permanently injured Danny Ings, and then suddenly he just kept scoring. He kept playing for Southampton.
I didn't get him last season because it's like he will be injured. He will be injured.
And I think this is a perfect time to get Antonio in because his ownership's so low. His returns and potential is so high. But also, it's a double game week. And West Ham and Man City, as we've seen, have the best fixtures there. So that's why I'm targeting him. And if I took a hit, I would get Cancelo in. And then I would look to bench both my Leeds players probably. But I don't know about that now.
And if he has 2 appearances in a double game week, even if one of them is a cameo sub, I mean, what is the expectation from the 6 million striker a goal in the double game week and a couple of bonus points? I think that's doable for him.
If I may, I guess, just to present the other side of it. Now, I'm transferring Antonio in, so I'm with you. But when he played in the Cup, he played all 90, didn't he, or so? All the full match. I think he had 1 block shot and no chances created, which obviously isn't ideal. But then if you look at the whole West Ham team, they maybe weren't quite on it. We have also seen in the news there's West Ham have got another striker who Moyes is talking up. Now that one, unlike the performance in the Cup, I maybe think is smoke and mirrors. Maybe they know they can't sign another striker. They're just putting that out there.
That's exactly.
Realistically, I don't think he's going to get much minutes over.
I'm a cynical journalist, and that says to me, we haven't got the money. We can't get someone in to replace Haller. So Antonio's our man. Yes, we know he'll get injured, but we've got this lovely teenager that we think is absolutely brilliant, and we're going to get him in. He's barely played, and yeah, he's not a replacement for Antonio unless Antonio's injured, and that's the thing with Antonio. It's just will he be injured? But yeah,
like Karam said, if Antonio comes off in the 60th minute, it's having scored 2 goals, it's the teenager coming on. Probably not the other way around.
Definitely. So I hope that we've answered everyone's questions. I think we've sort of aired our own dilemmas about game week 19. We all had plans. Some of us are just sticking with those plans. Some of us are maybe thinking of changing those plans. But there's certainly maybe some hits flying around. And maybe some more chips as well. Some triple captaincies, who knows? Some free hits, wildcard even. But just remind people that a lot of the stats we've been drawing up there from the members area of Fantasy Football Scout. So tons of Opta-driven data there, like the comparison tool, Rate My Team. We did have some of the top players for the Rate My Team computer says this show as well. And of course my goals imminent table, which Seb kindly flagged up. I didn't get a chance to get the picture in, but that's good news for our podcast readers because we definitely described podcast listeners rather. We definitely described it there. But in the meantime, it's a good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.